More rations needed for drought-affected communities. Police need resources to clamp down on sea piracy. PNG gets $20 million to address climate change.
This is National EMTV News with Meriba Tulo.
Good evening and thank you for joining us for Friday's news. Communities severely affected by the 8-month drought have indicated they will still need food rations for the next 6 months as crops regenerate. Some of the worst hit include the Telefomin district in Sundown and Kabum in Morbe province. An MTV crew spent the month of December documenting the struggles of the people who are seeing a rise in pests and diseases with the arrival of rain. This is the subject of a documentary soon to be aired on MTV.
This is Urupmin, a village community located on a ridge overlooking the headwaters of the Sepik River. It's an 8-hour journey on foot from the district capital of Telefomin. Urupmin is one of the communities worst hit by the 8-month drought. It is in what disaster experts call a Category 5, where food sources are severely affected.
Come to help him garden lo mi platu. Emika time mi pla bin plani mol kau na taro pasta mia na sani cooking finish na now iga to ligli kai kai stop inside him. Rain put down him, poison him.
After 8 months, the rains have come, but it has brought with it new problems. The rains have triggered a sudden increase in pests and diseases. The cow, a staple crop in these parts, are being eaten by insects that burrow into the tubers and feed on them. For the Urupmin, another crop, the taro, is one of primary importance. Their cultural ceremonies revolve around the health of the taro. This year, the harvest is bleak. Beetles and other pests are feeding on the suckers that have been planted.
Go inside long. Kaya disla taro ya. Go inside nem say kaya inside lo taro ya nasa bakrapim.
Far from the headwaters of the Sepik in Kabum, Morbe province, the same scenario. Crops are rotting in the ground. Diseases are killing the cassava and the cacao. People have been reduced to eating what's left over by the beetles. With the dry season looking like it's coming to an end, community leaders in far-flung regions of the country fear that authorities so far removed from the realities of the drought could start losing focus. And yes, the rains have come, but it'll take another 6 to 8 months before people start actually harvesting food. In Morobe, the Provincial Disaster Center reports that in January, it will have exhausted all of the 1 million kina in funding provided by the provincial government. It is still waiting for funding based on a submission sent to the National Disaster Center in Port Moresby. The center has also pointed out that the cost of transportation alone has eaten up a large chunk of the disaster relief budget for Morobe. Scott Waide, National EMTV News, Ley.
The lack of capacity and resources is making police work difficult when it comes to cracking down on sea piracy. The crime has been on the increase in the Momasa region, and this is putting pressure on police to establish a water police unit. The unit will be responsible for marine policing and will take charge of sea piracy matters.
Sea piracy is a serious problem in the coastal waters of Morobe and also in the other parts of the country. Unfortunately, police do not have the logistics to be able to counter this issue. People from coastal villages have been greatly affected by it, where they have lost their valuables while out at sea. Assistant Commissioner of Police for Northern Region Peter Guinness said water policing is one of the issues he wants to capture in his command, and hopes the modernization program that the Royal Papua New Guinea Constabulary is embarking on will also address water policing.
I'd like to see that we have a water police based in Morobe Patrol Post, and another in Finchafen, so that they can be able to patrol the area between Finchafen to Ley and Morobe to Ley and Morobe to the border of Northern Province.
In 2 districts of Morobe in 2015 alone, there were 5 reported cases where passengers are left stranded on boats after being robbed. Mobile phones have made the coordination of crimes easier, with pirates able to identify which boats to attack and when to rob them.
Once a boat leaves, we think that they communicate by mobile phone to alert those who are waiting out at sea to what kind of boat is coming and who are the passengers on the boat, and if any specific targets that they must rob. And we think that's the kind of method the criminals are using.
There have also been two separate incidents in Leh City where criminals have used boats to escape. In October last year, criminals escaped on a boat after robbing Leh's Ramai 18. And then again, a fast food outlet was robbed. Police were alerted and gave chase, but the criminals escaped on a boat.
The criminals have been escaping by sea here in Leh City. The problem is we don't have a police boat.
Through a public-private partnership with the Executive Security Services, the security firm has offered one of its boats to police to carry out sea patrolling. Leh police have already used this boat in one incident to pursue suspects.
We're doing it as a community effort to help sort out the Leh crime problems.
Mata Lewis, National EMTV News, Leh.
Relief supplies of flour, oil, rice and tinned fish have been delivered for the third time in what's now become the second year by the Madang Disaster Office to the Manam Islanders on the island. This is the last batch from the funding by the Prime Minister's Department and his deputy, Leo Dion's office, following the minor volcanic eruption on the island mid-last year.
The Madang Disaster Office says it cannot do anything further for the Manam Islanders after this relief supply delivery because this is the last of the 500,000 kina relief funds from last year.
For this year, it will be an issue that I need to look into, and I'm just appealing to the Honourable Member John Hickey if he could assist me in this to help the Manam people. And also with the cash centers, because at the cash centers I've already given them just one of the supplies, which it's not sufficient for them.
This last batch was supposed to be delivered last year, and this delay has caused the volcano victims to attack their village councillors.
That time eruption come up na angry start, but all man go expect him some one time that supply don't come, but all go expect him the time. Eventually no will come.
The Provincial Disaster Director, Rudolf Mangali, says the hold-up is due to the suppliers.
They're supposed to be getting the supplies for 3 months. Due to the suppliers, they ran out of some of the food relief items, and then that's the reason why it is being delayed. I should have already given them last year, around October, November. But unfortunately, I could not because the suppliers ran out of food relief items, so I had to delay it.
The Madang Disaster Office is now appealing to anyone willing to help the disadvantaged Manam Islanders, especially the Madang MPs and the business houses. Rachel Shise, National EMTV News, Madang.
With the 2016 school year 3 weeks away, overcrowding will be an issue. Bavaroko Primary School in the nation's capital is one school still struggling to build more infrastructure. School Board Chairman Jack Ninkama says the call for education authorities to help build more classrooms has fallen on deaf ears.
Bavaroko Primary School is located on prime land at East Boroko in Port Moresby. At the beginning of every year, the school faces overcrowding. Since taking office as chairman of the board, Jack Ninkama says their plea for authorities to erect more classroom infrastructure has received no attention.
And all this infrastructure, the maintenance that you see here without any assistance from the department, we do it through project fees and a little bit of TFF. We're doing all these things.
A former teacher by profession, Mr. Ninkama says the government's TFF and SLIP policy are helpful, but more is needed. Chairman Ninkama also wants the Education Department to define the role of NCD Education Services and NCD Commission of Education.
Define these roles and responsibility of these two divisions, the Education Services and NCD. And who is supposed to look after infrastructure? who's supposed to do what. So when we have issues like this, we directly go to them so that they can address us.
Parents and stakeholders have been helping the board and management of the school, but the chairman says the school needs more consideration from education authorities.
So if we put up 2 or 3 classrooms here, I think it's going to cater for the entire, the growing population of our surrounding community here.
Bavaroko Primary School enrolls nearly 8,000 students with a ratio of 60 students to a teacher. And with the 2016 school year around the corner, this school will be facing an increase in figures when enrollments open. Jack Lapava Jr., National MTV News.
You're watching National MTV News. A second police officer implicated in the condom saga arrested and suspects in the Kokoda attack flown into Port Moresby. Those stories and more after the break. Welcome back to the news. The second police officer suspected of being involved in the condom eating saga was brought to Port Moresby today after he fled to the Highlands last year. He was located and apprehended in Southern Highlands and is now in police custody awaiting formal charges.
The suspect officer arrived in Port Moresby at 11:30 this morning on Air Niugini's PX-181 flight from Mount Hagen. He was escorted by a Port Moresby police unit that travelled up to Nipa earlier this week. A team of senior officers from the Royal Papua New Guinea Constabulary waited for his arrival outside the terminal. The suspect was brought into the Internal Affairs Directorate at 12:30 today. He is the second of the 3 police officers alleged to have been involved in the condom eating saga on December 4th last year. It is understood the suspect officer was posted to work in Nipa before the condom eating saga. However, he refused and continued working with the NCD command. He was attached to the Gordons police station and only fled the city when investigations into the saga commenced. The third suspect officer is still to be apprehended. Thekla Gunga, National MTV News.
2 suspects in the attack of tourists on the Kokoda track were flown to Port Moresby this morning. The 2 men from Efogi village in Central Province will remain in police custody while investigations are carried out.
The 2 suspects were flown in at 12 p.m. today via helicopter from Efogi village and were escorted into a standby police vehicle. Central Police Commander Laimo Asi said the 2 suspects between the ages of 20 and 30 years will be facing several charges.
Involved in this, the rape and the abduction, and also wounding of the 2 expatriates trekkers at Kokoda Trek. Police have did a tremendous job. Just brought them down. Now you witness them. We'll be taking them away for further interrogation and further formal charges to be laid.
The 2 suspects are alleged to have kidnapped the victims and leading them off 20 to 30 meters away from the track before raping the female tourist. They also tied up the male victim and collected all of his belongings before beating him up. Asi thanked the people of Koyari for working together with police to apprehend the 2 men.
People living along the Kokoda, Efogi, Maraba, Templeton 1 and 2, those up there, and the leaders, especially KTA and President, Koyari LLG, all the councillors along the Kokoda Trek for your support and assistance given to the police at that time.
James Inaga, CEO of Kokoda Track, appealed to his people to allow justice to take its course on the 2 suspects. He also thanked the people for working together with police.
Law to actually take its course and allow the law to actually go down to the root of it. To every action, there is a reason. There is a reason. It is not in our nature as Koyari people, for that matter, who live along the Kokoda track to do such act.
Adelaide Xerox Curry, National MTV News.
Over 20 probationary constables attached to the Boroko Police Station in Port Moresby have concluded a public safety refresher course this afternoon. The one-day course, initiated by Boroko Station Shift Inspector Senior Sergeant Henry Mapp, comes after recent reports of police brutality committed by probationary constables.
The training targeted the appropriate approach police officers are supposed to perform when conducting police duties. These skills include how to respond to a complaint, the procedure of writing a police statement, and when to arrest a suspect. Senior Sergeant Mapp, who spearheaded the training, said basic police practices like vehicle inspections and customer services have been omitted at most police stations, and the training aims to revive these practices.
For them to learn how to address the issues of how they can attend to a complaint in a professional manner, how they can stand and serve the public.
NCD Metropolitan Superintendent Benjamin Turi encouraged the probationary constables to execute the different approaches correctly. Turi said such practices build the good foundation of any stations and challenged police station commanders of other stations in the NCD command to conduct similar training.
And what we will do now is take the training back to the duty counter and make a difference. Boroko Police Station, you all sit here, must make sure there's no police brutality, no assault, no stealing. This will be the past.
This training is seen as a positive step towards creating a good image for the Boroko Police Station, an image tarnished by the condo-meeting saga last year. Thekla Gunga, National, EMTV News.
A gender-based violence advocate in Morobe province has revealed a lack of information hinders most survivors of family and sexual violence from seeking help. Morobe Family and Sexual Violence Program Advisor Kyun Kimbing says the province records at least 5 family and sexual violence cases per day. He said this statistic could be more as most cases go unreported.
In some cases, family and sexual offences have been dealt with through the Melanesian system of compensation due to survivors' inadequate information to approach their problems. This gender-based violence advocate says public must be educated to understand that sexual offence matters are things that must be dealt with under the law. At Morobe's Community Development Office, advocates of gender-based violence are supporting the referral pathways that survivors can follow when seeking assistance for their problems.
Not every survivor in this case understand what the systems that the government has put in place for them to attend to seek assistance.
In November last year, the National Family and Sexual Violence Action Committee launched a set of referral guidelines to support provincial family and sexual violence action committees. And though this referral guideline was formed to support the safety, protection, rehabilitation and justice for survivors of family and sexual violence, many are still not fully aware of this.
Emily Boski, coordinator of Social Welfare Services, explained during any 6-month period, Morobe's Community Development records over 700 family and sexual violence cases.
There are 2 referral pathways. We refer clients with medical problems, we refer them down to Family Support Center. Children who have been lost child or abandoned child, we refer.
Morobe's Community Development Office continues to work alongside other partners like family support centers, safe houses, and law and justice organizations. Colin Barilai, National EMTV News, Leh.
The second rural medical doctors training in the country will begin classes next month at the Divine Word University. DWU selected 30 of its pioneer students, whose names have been posted on the university's website, to take up the Bachelor of Medicine and the Bachelor of Surgery training in February. The program targets training for doctors in rural areas. It will run alongside DWU's Bachelor of Rural Health, Bachelor of Environmental Health, Bachelor of Physiotherapy, Bachelor of Health and Management, and the Advanced Diploma in Eye Care program. NASFund PNG, together with B-Mobile Vodafone, is providing an opportunity for its customers to increase their NASFund contributions through their EDA Super Savings account. This can be done simply by text using a B-Mobile Vodafone handset. The initiative encourages customers, especially the SME sector, to increase their contributions with the Super Fund.
Nesfund PNG, in partnership with B-Mobile Vodafone, is offering convenient services to its clients through a Super Savings account. This initiative was officially launched yesterday in Port Moresby by Nesfund PNG Chief Executive Officer Ian Tarutia and B-Mobile Vodafone Marketing Manager Sundar Ramamuti. Mr. Ramamuti said this joint approach is a positive step forward these two organizations have taken to benefit the 7.6 million people of this country.
And for us at B-Mobile Vodafone, it's about bringing innovation. This, I think, is a world first, certainly a region first. So we're very proud to be here, delivering some value and some service.
Nesfund CEO Ian Tarutia said with the service, the registered 515,535 Nesfund members across the country can now increase their contributions by simply texting *2630 SK using their phones, and the amount will be credited to the EDA Super account within 7 days. Mr. Tarutia said Nesfund membership grew by 5.6%, with a total customers of 515,535, and out of this, 14,475 are voluntary contributors who collectively saved up to 40.5 million kina towards their retirement.
And these are usually self-employed individuals, the subsistence, farmers back at home, or people who are running a small business in the back of their house, but who have the nous to, think about their future and plan in a superannuation environment where the returns over an extended period of time, is far greater than what you get in the bank.
He said the EDA Super Savings account is one way for Nesfund contributors to make voluntary savings accessible via mobile phones throughout the country.
Our good friends, B-Mobile Vodafone, to enhance the service of another product that we have, which is EDA Super. And EDA Super is a voluntary savings scheme, and it's targeted at those workers that are not required to make compulsory contributions.
Eric Arupma, National EMTV News.
Among stories after the break, Papua New Guinea gets $20 million of assistance from the Asian Development Bank to address climate change. Welcome back to the news. Climate change mitigation in Papua New Guinea has finally got much needed support worth over $20 million. The funds will drive a climate change pilot project which will be implemented over 6 years beginning this year. Minister for Climate Change John Pundari urged the project managers to use the funds to put tangible assistance and development in the affected coastal communities of the country.
The Asian Development Bank and the PNG government today signed grant and project agreements to help PNG build its resilience to the impacts of climate change. The agreements will now see ADB provide $24.25 million in grant. The money is sourced from ADB's Strategic Climate Fund. Treasury Minister Patrick Pruich said the process of accessing these funds began 4 years ago when he was then Minister for Climate Change.
4 years ago, when I was then the Minister for Climate Change, we started championing the need for us to work together to find mitigate solutions for our climate change.
The Building Resilience to Climate Change project will be piloted in 21 vulnerable coastal communities in the autonomous region of Bougainville, East New Britain, Manus, Milne Bay and Morobe provinces. The project costs $27.29 million. $24.25 million is being provided by ADB and the balance of over $2 million by the PNG government.
I'm really pleased to be here today to sign this grant agreement and project agreement with the government of PNG on behalf of the Asian Development Bank. This assistance will help PNG to raise its development planning capacity, allowing the government to scale up investments in climate resilience.
Minister for Climate Change John Pundari thanked the ADB for the assistance.
You have assisted, you have supported, you have also guided, and we have all worked together very well to reach these states, and we will sign.
According to ADB's Economics of Climate Change on the Pacific report, PNG's economy is likely to suffer the biggest losses from climate change in the Pacific. Deli Waigeno, National, EMTV News.
The Koyari and Hiri presidents in Central Province have called on the government to consider Kairuku and Hiri as two separate electorates. They say the matter is long overdue. The Kairuku-Hiri electorate has one of the largest land masses bordering Central, Gulf and Oro provinces.
With roughly 166,000 people in one electorate alone, the development of Kairuku-Hiri open electorate has proven difficult to monitor. The president said critical issues such as land grabbing and the lack of internal revenue generation has become all the more challenging to control with a large and ever-expanding population. Hiri LLG President Haoda Rogea reported a population of around 47,000 people in Hiri alone, as opposed to Rigo LLG, which has a population of up to 38,000 and yet is an open electorate.
During the recent by-election for the seat of Kairuku-Hiri, the Prime Minister himself made a commitment to the people of Hiri and Kairuku that Kairuku-Hiri will be split during this term of Parliament and during his term of government. And we, the people of Hiri and Kairuku, are still waiting for that commitment to be fulfilled by the current government and especially the Prime Minister.
Rogea said the delay in splitting the Kairuku-Hiri electorate was pushing their limits. He argued that they were one of the main suppliers of resources that fueled Port Moresby City's operation, and the split of electorates would be compensation the people deserved for giving up their land. In an interview with Augie David, the Koyari LLG president, he raised similar points.
Most of the government services that goes down to Port Moresby City come from north, and when I'm talking north, I'm talking Koyari here. It comes from Koyari. Like the new Brown River catchment is going to come from Koyari. It's going to come from Koyari land. And the resource that we are contributing to the development of the city and the country itself, we don't get it through the DDAs. We don't get it through the SIPs.
Both presidents say they spoke with no ill feelings towards the member for Kairuku-Hiri, but were appealing for the government to follow through with their commitments for the benefits of their people.
Local government that I represent as a president, the population increase every month. Because of everything is centered into Port Moresby, the influx of people come into Port Moresby every week. And now the expansion of city, the people are pushed into my local government area. That's why you hear me talk about land grabbing and a lot of fishy deals on land going on. It is because of everything centered into Port.
Melissa Goviro, National EMTV News.
Prime Minister Peter O'Neill has condemned the series of attacks that occurred in Indonesia's capital, Jakarta, on Thursday. Mr. O'Neill extended condolences on behalf of the government and people of Papua New Guinea to the families of those who lost their lives in the attacks. Papua New Guinea shares a land border with Indonesia, and Mr. O'Neill hopes the attackers are brought to justice, saying the senseless violence was disturbing. He said Indonesia is a close friend and that PNG looks forward to continue working together with its neighbor to deal with these issues in international forums. One day after the deadly attack in Indonesia, the investigations there continue. In an online statement, ISIS claimed responsibility.
Indonesia, of course, the world's largest Muslim population. Thousands of people had come here earlier today. They listened to the Friday sermon, the Imam making some very strong statements today, clarifying his position and what he believes Muslims' position should be, saying terrorism is a crime against humanity, that according to him, throughout Islamic history, any Islamic war was always defensive, not offensive, of course, denouncing and referring to ISIS's so-called jihad. People here too coming today saying that this should not be in their name. Take a listen, George.
What happened yesterday, they are not Muslims, they are infidels. I condemn them. I demand the government solve this problem. As a Muslim, I reject this terrorism in the name of Islam.
Islam's become a scapegoat. People believe Islam is identical to violence. Every time violence happens, people think it's related to Islam, but it's not.
No, I'm not terrorist. And then the Muslim in Indonesia, I'm not terrorist. But I want to say to the world, the human world, Muslim, Islam, Muslim, not terrorist, or terrorist, not Muslim.
Hong Kong is set to make laws which will ban the sale of elephant ivory in Hong Kong. While the trade of tusks from the extinct mammoth is unregulated, Hong Kong aims to phase out the trade of elephant ivory altogether. Hong Kong Chief Executive Leong Chun-ying made this announcement yesterday.
According to World Wildlife Fund, authorities have seized 8 tons of smuggled ivory in 2013 alone, making Hong Kong one of the largest ivory smuggling hubs in the world. During the annual policy address yesterday, the Hong Kong leader Leong Chun-ying announced that his government will start actively tackling this issue.
We'll take steps to ban totally the sale of ivory in Hong Kong. It will be a total ban. As to the matter of timing, we'll do it expeditiously, as quickly as we can. But this will, as you probably appreciate, require legislative amendments, and that will be a matter for the Legislative Council.
The Chinese territory has banned elephant ivory trade since 1990. However, shops are still allowed to sell ivory products acquired before the ban. Chun-ying added that the Hong Kong government is very concerned about the illegal elephant poaching in Africa, and despite not having a solid timetable, the government will kickstart legislative procedures as soon as possible. Conservation groups WWF and Wild Aid both issued statements later during the day, welcoming Chun-ying's announcement. Lorraine Gabina, MTV World News.
You're watching National MTV News. Trukai Sports is next. We'll have the details when we return. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. Papua New Guinea kickboxing world title holder Rickson Powerhouse Yamo was attacked and beaten yesterday by several men. It is understood the men were under the influence of alcohol when they attacked Yamo on a PMV bus just outside Port Moresby. The commotion started with an argument with another passenger.
World kickboxing champion Rickson Yamo was on a PMV bus yesterday morning just after 10 a.m. when he got into an argument with another passenger, which led to Yamo's fateful attack. According to Yamo, the man stood on his foot, and when Yamo asked him to move, he refused. Yamo then forcefully pushed the man away, leading him to calling on his tribesmen to beat Yamo up. Yamo claimed he was attacked by up to 20 men who dragged him out of the bus and began the outbreak with iron bars, sticks, stones, and bush knives. In a status posted on Facebook by Yamo, the champion kickboxer did not try to fight back, instead only defended